Yes, the application site for testosterone cream matters. It matters so much that depending on where you put it, you either get a lot of DHT and a balancing of estrogen if your dose is right, or you get over aromatization, which is going to lead to ED, climax problems, libido problems, and sensation problems. We've been over this before, but there are 5 to 8x higher concentration of 5-alpha reductase enzymes in the scrotal skin, and the scrotal skin is also the most permeable site on the male body for testosterone absorption. So when people think, oh, I'm on cream, can I rub some on the shoulders or some on the inner thighs or like some on my forearms? Well, the answer is definitely yes, and that might be useful while having some still on the scrotum to get more DHT. But some folks are just going to need to apply all of it to the scrotum. Let me break this down because I want to give you the scenarios where putting it all on the scrotum makes sense, where splitting it up makes sense, and have you know that with testosterone cream, regarding libido and erections, the application site matters so damn much. And it could be the difference. It usually is the difference between dialing in sexual function and not if you're not applying it appropriately. Let's get into it. All right, first start the video, look, my company, Cortex Labs, TRT Guidance Sexual Dysfunction Resolution. We've got Black Friday discounts. Today's Black Friday, and everything is 50% off, and I'll let you watch a quick film that explains it all, and the coupon code. Coaching is 50% off. Mastering Testosterone Cream, Mastering Testosterone Cypionate, Source List, all 50% off. Have a look. Right now for Black Friday, the coupon code BLACK50 saves you 50% on all TRT products. Coaching, one-on-one, sexual dysfunction resolution, fixing libido and erection problems on TRT, 50% off. Enter BLACK50 at checkout and you will save thousands of dollars on any coaching program. Source List, a compilation of the most vetted sources for any anabolic you can think of. Test of any ester, DHT, high potency, 50% off. Mastering Testosterone Cream, a revolutionary new course, 50% off. Coupon code again, BLACK50. Will knock 50% off of the price. Mastering Testosterone Cypionate, a course that shows you how to dial in libido and erections with one of the hardest esters in the world. 50% off again. Coupon code BLACK50 saves you 50% on all of our major TRT products right now. Now look, there are a bunch of threads on this that break it down. So, I think we generally know this. If you rub the testosterone cream, the transscrotal cream, on the testicles, you get a higher absorption of everything. You get a higher absorption of testosterone. That is the most permeable site on the human body compared to every other site for test absorption. Between 2000 and 2017, when all the clinical trials on Testum, Androgel, and then ultimately later on in the 2015's timeframe, conversion to cream, showed us that the testicles were the most permeable site. Meaning, if you apply testosterone cream to your forearm, the same amount, call it 3 pumps of 100 milligram per milliliter, one day, and then you go test your bloods. Then the next day, you apply 3 pumps to the scrotum, and then you go test your bloods. The results are going to be dramatically different, both in terms of testosterone as well as DHT, with both of them being higher in the scrotal application. And this matters a lot, and you can manipulate it either way. Forearms, some on the scrotum, all on the scrotum. It all depends really on the estradiol number as well as the DHT that you're targeting. Let's have a look at this thread. Where do you apply testosterone cream, not gel, for best absorption results? Guy says, I've read numerous comments and articles that say inner thighs, inner elbows, and the wrists, and have other people say apply it to the sack. First comment, it will absorb best on the scrotum, and that is where most people apply it. I use it on the scrotum on the weekend for higher DHT and on the shoulders and inner thighs during the week. Now, this is the crux of the point that I'm trying to make. If you're using cream, and at some point throughout the duration of the week or whatever, you want to increase DHT, apply it all to the scrotum. Look, a lot of people just apply exclusively to the scrotum. I'm largely scrotum, and then the DHT gets very, very high. I'll start noticing a little bit of diffuse thinning, at which point I got to kind of back it up, lower the HCG dose a little bit to compensate for what will ultimately be a little more estrogen, which I'm going to get to when you apply it elsewhere other than the testicles. Because think about this. If you apply it all to the forearm, you're getting less DHT. Tests can only convert to 2 things, estrogen and DHT. You apply it elsewhere from where you have high density of 5-alpha reductase enzymes, you're going to get less DHT and more estrogen. So what this guy's doing is putting it on the scrotum for the higher DHT for the weekend, just kind of getting a bump in erection quality, libido, primal libido is, DHT driven largely, assuming estrogen's in range. And then he goes back to, wherever, inner thighs and stuff during the week. You'll see other threads like this. Topical cream is the best application site. There's only one comment. For best results and lower risk of transference to scrotum is the best application site for compounded cream. Now, here's another kind of point within a point and sort of the basis of what I'm trying to say to folks. Applying to the scrotum is most popular and also most effective in terms of absorption, but you will have to determine what works best for you on how you feel. Let me explain a scenario for you. If you're putting 100 milligram per milliliter cream, say you're doing 6 full pumps, and you've got 200 IU of HCG a day, and these 6 full pumps are going on the scrotum. What is likely going to happen there is estrogen will be at the top of the range, potentially a little over, maybe even at 25, 27. Depends on if you're a hyperaromatizer, normal aromatizer, or low aromatizer. But for sure, if you're putting 6 pumps of the 100 milligram per milliliter stuff on the scrotum, you are going to have loads of DHT. You're probably going to be very high normal or most of the time super physiologic in DHT. Now, in this case, assuming estrogen's like in range or in your range, again, 20 to 35, but the zone within the zone, 27 to 30 or so picograms per milliliter, and you've got functional testicles and enough support there, sexual system should be up and running and just fine, even optimal. However, in those cases, guys that are very sensitive to loads of DHT, even if you have good genes, you're probably going to notice some diffuse hair thinning. As I've explained, I'm on cream. I've been on cream various times throughout the years. I'm on it right now. If I stay applying it to the scrotum just consistently, I will start to notice my hair thin a little bit. Now, you might think in that case, if you're getting some sort of side effect from like a lot of DHT, the sexual system might be great. But, maybe you're getting some hair loss and you want to keep your hair. Well, you could just apply it to the shoulders, right? Should be the same thing. You lower the DHT, you should probably end up being good. The answer to that is not necessarily. That might royally fuck your protocol for libido and erections. And here's why. As I explained, if you take it from putting it on the scrotum to putting it on the forearm, where there is a lot less 5-alpha reductase enzymes, still some, you're going to get some DHT. Tests can only convert to 2 things, estradiol or DHT. And if you're applying it to a site on your body which has less 5-alpha reductase enzymes, you'll get less DHT, which means you're going to get more estradiol. So if you are to change sites because of diffuse hair thinning or some other side effect that comes along with super high DHT, maybe a lot of acne or otherwise, you must compensate for what will be increases in estradiol and lower, we should say just a little bit lower DHT by, in this case and in all cases, either lowering the total dose or lowering the HCG dose. You then put 6 pumps on your forearm. You're getting more estradiol. Say it was at 29. Well, now it's going to be 37, 40 picograms per milliliter. So your HCG dose at 200 IU a day, you should knock that down to 125, maybe 130 IU a day to compensate for the overage in estrogen you're getting from the different application sites so that you can stay in the sex-specific zone regarding estradiol. If DHT lowers a little bit, that's not catastrophically bad, assuming estrogen is in range. You can have mid-level DHT, let's call it 55 to 60 or so. As long as estrogen is range, the sexual function is going to be good. Here's another scenario. Okay, you've got guys that go on cream and they're getting instruction to put it on their inner thighs. So let's say they're dosing 200 milligram per milliliter cream, which I don't suggest you use right away if you're trying to dial in sexual function. You should go to the 100 milligram per milliliter stuff. Just say they're doing that, and they're doing 3 pumps a day. And they've been instructed by their TRT clinic or their doctor to put that 3 pumps on the inner thigh. Okay, cool. Total test goes to 1,200. Estradiol, though, goes to 47. And DHT, is still up there at the high end of the reference range, but not super physiologic. But user has, because of that, erectile dysfunction, right? Maybe they have a little nocturnals here and there because of the high DHT, but for penetrative sex, it fails mid-sex. That's an indication, actually a clear sign, that estrogen is too high. In that case, all that user has to do, especially if estrogen's at 47, right? This is going to probably balance out. is just apply those 3 pumps to the scrotum. Now, again, I don't suggest 200 milligram per milliliter stuff. Again, if you want to make short strokes, small little adjustments in order to dial in perfectly, you want to have lower concentration cream. That just makes logical sense. But say this ends up working, applies it instead, the 3 pumps on the scrotum, well, then there's a whole different conversion of the metabolites and an entirely different system that you're looking at, a way different picture. Higher DHT. Now you've gone to the superphysiologic range of DHT, and estradiol went from 47 to 33. Well, that might be passable for folks. I've seen some guys, hover around 35 and everything still works. You just radically changed the outcome of sexual function by just applying it to a different site where there's 5 to 8x, possibly 10x higher concentration of the enzymes that convert your testosterone into DHT. Therefore, more DHT, less estradiol. Higher DHT, lower estradiol. That's the recipe. The third and final example, just to give you guys some food for thought here, is if you are running into a degree of side effect from DHT, because DHT isn't entirely innocuous. I want to make that clear. You need it for erections. You need it for primal libido. You need it for masculinity. You need it for hair growth, facial hair growth, dominance, productivity, all that kind of shit. But if it is giving you some sort of side effect, overstimulation, diffuse fucking hair thinning, oily skin, acne, maybe you're aggressive with your wife or your kids, I've seen that shit before too, well, then you might want to just split it up, okay? As to get more DHT or still have DHT, a good bit of it, apply 3 pumps. Say you're running 100 milligram per milliliter stuff and it's 6 pumps a day. Apply 3 pumps to the scrotum and 3 pumps to the forearm. Yes, the estrogen is going to go up if it's been strictly on the scrotum prior, in which case, again, either lower the dose to 5 pumps or lower the HCG dose down from wherever it is so that you can compensate for that. But there you'll get a slowing of the diffuse hair thinning or the acne or the aggression, like all that will scale down because there's ultimately less DHT, but you still have enough of it because you're applying some to the scrotum and some to the forearm, and you end up balancing out. In the end, not everybody should apply all of the cream that they're using to the scrotum. It really all depends on what you're trying to do. Could you settle for good sexual function, maybe not superb from like when you were 17, 18 years old, but you don't get any hair loss? Well, then if that's your goal, cool. If you notice you've got the best sexual function ever on the right cream dose, right HCG, but it's all scrotal application, but you're having diffuse hair thinning, specifically that, like you're starting to lose your hair and you notice it, you got, hair when you're in the shower, when your hair is wet, you could see big patches on the top if you look from the top. You might then have to decide the common question that, a lot of post-finasteride syndrome folks have to decide eventually, your hair or your dick. Which do you want more? Listen, there are some good-looking dudes that are bald. You just got to be in shape, have a beard. You generally, hopefully, have to be a generally attractive dude. But a lot of guys can make this work. Or a crew cut. It's not that your hair is completely going to fall out from loads of DHT. Maybe it's just diffuse thinning, you get a crew cut, a cool little kind of army looking cut or whatever. And then it looks awesome. Plenty of guys rock that cut and look great. Just have a beard. Don't have a goatee. Some folks are going to find, especially coming from inhibition of 5-alpha reductase enzymes. They took finasteride, they took dutasteride, they took saw-palmetto, they had dosed a bunch of curcumin for their joints or whatever. That stuff does it too. You've been starved of DHT for a while. So whatever happens with side effects, acne, or your hair, you're going to need to apply it all to the scrotum. Listen, if you want to fix the sexual dysfunction, you fucking need DHT for that. Over aromatizers. You guys that on Cypionate, call it 100 milligrams a week, your estrogen's at 47, which is crazy for that dose. And DHT's like, sitting at 50 or something, just kind of a mediocre number. The solution to that is just transcrotal application. That's it. Get cream, put it on the scrotum. You're going to have higher DHT and you're going to have lower estradiol. Then your over-aromatization problem on Cypionate, which makes you think Cypionate sucks, which largely it does. It can be dialed in, but it sucks for this reason. Problem is solved with scrotal application of test cream, and then you've got your sexual function. Why? Because DHT is high enough and estrogen is low enough. This is why I think, besides prop, cream is just one of probably the best modality for applying testosterone and for doing TRT. You can manipulate the numbers either way you look at it. You get to control how much DHT and estradiol that you create. People don't recognize you are the arbiter of your TRT protocol. It is up to you. And you can get these numbers where you need them to be based on the application site. Not exclusively, because dose matters, HCG matters, etc., but the application site for sexual function matters way more than people give credence to. All right, boys, as I said in the beginning, this is Black Friday. These are the biggest discounts we have ever run and we will ever run. You're never going to see 50% off Source List. You're never going to see 50% off Mastering Testosterone Cream course. You're never going to see 50% off Mastering Testosterone Cypionate. You're never going to see, again, 50% off one-on-one coaching with me for resolution of sexual dysfunction on TRT or from the use of hair loss drugs. And right now, everything's 50% off. Coupon code for that is BLACK50. I will leave you with a video that explains everything and shows you how to go get massive discounts literally right now on TRT products for Black Friday. Go get it done. Kick ass, rock on. Talk to you soon. Right now for Black Friday, the coupon code BLACK50 saves you 50% on all TRT products. Coaching, one-on-one, sexual dysfunction resolution, fixing libido and erection problems on TRT or from the use of hair loss drugs, 50% off right now. Coupon code is BLACK50. Enter BLACK50 at checkout and you will save thousands of dollars on any coaching program that you want to book. Source List, a compilation of the most vetted sources for any anabolic you can think of. Everything you need, test of any ester, DHT, high potency gel. Also 50% off for Black Friday. Again, the coupon code for that is BLACK50 and it knocks 50% off of the price of the Source List right now. Mastering Testosterone Cream, a revolutionary new course showing you how to dial in libido and erections on test cream, dispelling myths, showing you the protocols that work. 50% off. Coupon code again, BLACK50. Will knock 50% off of the price, reduces the price substantially, and you walk away with a great course for a lot cheaper. Mastering Testosterone Cypionate, a revolutionary course that shows you how to dial in libido and erections with one of the hardest esters in the world. We break it down, protocols included. 50% off, again, coupon code BLACK50 saves you 50% on all of our major TRT products right now. Go to livecortex.com. Get what you need to optimize sexual function on TRT and save money for Black Friday now.